Babylon. Just saying the name, it conjures up all these images, right? Grandeur, mystery, ancient power. It's a city that has echoed through thousands of years, becoming so much more than just a place on a map. It's become an idea. Seriously, just for a second, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, our idea of Babylon is this jumbled of powerful, sometimes contradictory legends that have been passed down for millennia. Maybe it's the Tower of Babel, the biblical story of that impossibly tall tower meant to reach the heavens, which led to God confusing everyone's languages. And, archaeologists are pretty sure this story was inspired by a real structure in Babylon, a massive ziggurat called the Etemenenki. Or maybe your mind goes straight to the legendary Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This supposed masterpiece of engineering and just stunning beauty, built right in the middle of a desert. And then there's the darker side of the legend. In later traditions, the city became this powerful symbol of decadence, worldliness, even evil, personified as the Whore of Babylon. So how do we get past all these powerful myths to find the real city, the one buried under centuries of sand and stories? Well, in this explainer, we're going to try and peel back those layers of legend to uncover the historical Babylon, using archaeology and ancient texts as our guide. First off, we need to understand that Babylon didn't just appear out of nowhere as a fully formed empire. Its story starts much, much smaller. It began as just a humble town on the banks of the Euphrates River. The earliest mention we even have of Babylon is from a clay tablet from around 2200 BC. And back then, it was just a small town, part of the much bigger Akkadian Empire. It's not until about 1894 BC that it finally gets its independence under a people called the Amorites. And then, about a century later, a name you've definitely heard of shows up: Hammurabi. Hammurabi is the one who really puts Babylon on the map, turning it from a minor city-state into a real kingdom. And his most famous legacy? His legal code. But this wasn't just a list of rules. It was a game changer. By creating a single, predictable set of laws for everyone in his empire, he made Babylon a center not just of power, but of order and justice. He was so successful that the city became completely dominant. The entire region of southern Mesopotamia came to be known as Babylonia. Think about that. The city's identity literally swallowed the whole regions. Babylon had officially arrived, pushing aside older holy cities and becoming the undisputed heart of a civilization. But the city's true golden age, the era that really fueled all those legends we talked about, that came much later. We have to jump forward to the Neo-Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar II. This is when Babylon became a true super city. At its height, Babylon was just enormous. It was likely the very first city in human history to have more than 200,000 people. That made it the largest, most vibrant, most bustling metropolis on the entire planet at the time. And you bet Nebuchadnezzar made sure his capital looked the part. He ordered the construction of these incredible architectural marvels. You had the stunning Ishtar Gate, covered in those brilliant blue bricks with dragons and bulls. You had the towering Etemenanki Ziggurat, the real-life Tower of Babel, and it was all protected by a massive system of double walls so thick everyone thought they were impenetrable. The sheer scale of the city was just breathtaking. I love this quote from an early 19th century explorer, Claudius Rich. It perfectly captures that feeling of being totally overwhelmed by the ruins. He's basically saying, I came expecting a few hills, but the entire landscape was covered in the ghosts of buildings. So we have the gate, the tower, the walls, it all checks out. But what about the most famous wonder of them all? The Hanging Gardens. Were they ever really there, in Babylon? And this is where separating myth from reality gets really, really tricky. You've got Greek and Roman writers who describe the gardens in amazing detail. But when archaeologists look at the thousands of cuneiform texts, the actual records from Babylon itself, there's nothing. Not a word. Complete silence. This has led some historians to wonder if the gardens were a later legend, or maybe they were in a different city altogether, like Nineveh. The mystery is still unsolved. Well, every golden age has to end. For Babylon, that turning point came in 539 BC. But its end wasn't some big, fiery explosion. It was more of a long, slow decline. The Persians, led by Cyrus the Great, took the impenetrable city without even really trying to break the walls. They used brilliant tactics. They waited for a big national feast, diverted the Euphrates River upstream, which lowered the water level, and then his soldiers just waded into the city through the riverbed right under the walls. The capital fell almost without a fight. After the Persians took over, Babylon's story is really one of a slow fade. Alexander the Great conquered it and even planned to make it the capital of his new empire. But then he died, right there, in Nebuchadnezzar's palace. Over the next 1,000 years, the city just kind of withered. Its importance dwindled until by the year 1000 AD, the greatest city in the world was just a small village. Now, let's jump to the modern era because the ruins of Babylon have faced a whole new and very complicated set of challenges. In the 20th and 21st centuries, the site has been treated in some pretty dramatic ways. In the 1980s, Saddam Hussein started this huge, very controversial reconstruction project. He even had new bricks stamped with his own name, just like Nebuchadnezzar did. Then, fast forward to after the 2003 invasion, a military base was built directly on the ruins, causing just irreparable damage. Heavy vehicles crushed 2,600-year-old roads, and parts of the ancient city were leveled for things like helicopter pads. But after decades of turmoil, neglect, and damage, a really important step was finally taken to protect what's left. In 2019, the site was officially designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, giving it the global recognition and protection it so desperately needed. And all of this leaves us with a final, really big question. From ancient storytellers building up myths to modern leaders and armies literally leaving their mark on the ruins, the story of Babylon has been written and rewritten so many times. It forces us to ask, when a civilization's physical history is buried and vulnerable, who gets to control its story? Who has the right to rewrite it?